My sister found my old diary where I wrote about my first love and high school failures when I was 16. At the holiday table, she read the most embarrassing entries in front of the whole family. Everyone was laughing. I never thought I'd be writing something like this on Reddit, but here I am at 2 a.m., still shaking from what happened tonight. I'm 24, finishing up my last semester at university here in Texas, and I thought the worst part of coming home for Christmas would be explaining why I'm still single and living off ramen noodles. Boy, was I wrong. So there I was, sitting around our dining room table with the usual suspects: Mom, Dad, my younger sister who's 21, both sets of grandparents, and a couple of aunts and uncles. The house smelled like turkey and those cinnamon candles Mom always burns during the holidays. Everything felt normal, you know? Dad was complaining about the Cowboys, Grandpa was telling the same story about his army days for the millionth time, and I was just trying to avoid questions about my love life. Then my sister disappeared upstairs for what felt like forever. I should have known she was up to something when she came back down with this huge grin on her face, but I was too busy helping Mom with the dessert plates to really pay attention. That's when she pulled out this beat-up purple notebook that I hadn't seen in years. My stomach dropped instantly because I knew exactly what it was: my diary from when I was 16. The one I thought I had thrown away ages ago. Apparently, she found it while helping Mom clean out some old boxes in my childhood bedroom. Before I could even process what was happening, she started reading. And not just any entries, she went straight for the most mortifying ones. The entry about how I practiced kissing on my pillow for weeks before my first date. The one where I described in excruciating detail how I thought holding hands with this guy from my chemistry class was basically the most romantic thing that could ever happen to anyone in the history of the world. But it got worse. So much worse. She read the entry about how I cried for 3 hours because I got a B+ on a history test and thought it meant I was stupid. She read about the time I tried to bleach my own hair and ended up looking like a scarecrow for 2 months. She even read the part where I wrote an entire love poem about some guy who didn't even know I existed, complete with lines about his beautiful eyes being like pools of chocolate or something equally ridiculous. The whole table was erupting with laughter. My dad was practically choking on his mashed potatoes. My grandma was wiping tears from her eyes. Even my usually serious uncle was cracking up. And there I was, sitting there like a deer in headlights, watching my teenage soul get dissected for everyone's entertainment. The worst part wasn't even the embarrassing stuff about boys or school drama. It was this one entry where I wrote about feeling invisible and wondering if anyone would even notice if I just disappeared. I had completely forgotten about writing that, but hearing it read out loud in front of everyone made me remember exactly how lonely and confused I felt back then. When my sister read that part, the laughter kind of died down, but then she quickly moved on to another funny entry about me trying to impress some guy by pretending I was really into skateboarding when I could barely stand on one. I wanted to crawl under the table and disappear. Or maybe run outside and never come back. Instead, I just sat there trying to laugh along like it was all hilarious, but inside I was dying. These were my most private thoughts from when I was just trying to figure out who I was, and now they were being turned into a comedy show for my entire family. When she finally closed the notebook, everyone was still chuckling and making comments about how cute and dramatic I used to be. My mom kept saying things like how I was such a serious little thing back then, and my grandpa made some joke about teenage girls and their feelings. I managed to make it through the rest of dinner somehow, but I could barely eat anything. Later that night, after everyone had gone home or to bed, I confronted my sister about it. I asked her why she thought it was okay to share something so personal without asking me first. She just shrugged and said she thought it would be funny and that it was just old stuff anyway, so what was the big deal? She said I was being too sensitive and that everyone had a good laugh, so I should just get over it. But I can't get over it. Those weren't just funny stories, they were pieces of my heart that I wrote down when I was trying to make sense of everything. Sure, some of it seems silly now, but it was real to me then. And the fact that she turned it into entertainment without even thinking about how I might feel just makes it so much worse. I keep thinking about all the other stuff that might have been in there that she didn't read out loud. What if there were entries about family problems or things I was struggling with that I definitely wouldn't want everyone to know about? The thought that she went through all of it makes me feel so violated. I don't even know how to face everyone at breakfast tomorrow. I know they're probably not thinking about it anymore, but I can't stop replaying the whole thing in my head. Every laugh, every comment, every second of sitting there while my most private thoughts got turned into a joke. Has anyone else been through something like this? How do you even begin to trust someone again after they betray your privacy like that? I feel so stupid for being this upset about something that happened when I was a teenager, but it just hurts so much. Update 1. Well, things have gotten significantly more complicated since my original post. I thought I'd update you all because honestly, I need somewhere to process what's been happening, and the support from my first post really helped me feel less crazy about the whole situation. So yesterday morning came, and I was dreading having to face everyone at breakfast. I barely slept the night before, just replaying everything over and over in my head. But when I finally dragged myself downstairs, something unexpected happened. My grandma was sitting at the kitchen table by herself, drinking her coffee like she always does when she stays over. She looked up at me and patted the chair next to her. I figured she was going to make some comment about how I needed to lighten up or something, but instead she said something that completely caught me off guard. She told me she couldn't stop thinking about what happened at dinner and she wanted to apologize for laughing. She said she realized later that it probably felt awful to have such personal things shared without my permission, and she wished she had spoken up instead of just going along with everyone else. Then she told me something I never knew. When she was around my age, her sister did something similar to her. Apparently, her sister found some letters she had written to a boy she liked and shared them with their whole church youth group. She said the humiliation was so intense that she stopped writing letters altogether for years, and it damaged their relationship for a long time. Hearing that made me feel so much better, knowing that someone understood why this felt like such a big deal. We talked for almost an hour about family dynamics and privacy and how sometimes people don't realize the impact of their actions. She also mentioned that she noticed how my sister seemed to enjoy the attention she got from making everyone laugh, which was something I hadn't really thought about before. But then things took another turn when my sister came downstairs and overheard the end of our conversation. Instead of being understanding or apologetic, she got defensive and accused me of trying to turn the family against her. She said I was being dramatic and that Grandma was just encouraging me to hold grudges. This led to a huge argument where she basically doubled down on everything. She said that if I didn't want people reading my diary, I shouldn't have written embarrassing things in it. She claimed that since it was old stuff from high school, it didn't matter anymore and I was being ridiculous for still caring about it. The worst part was when she said that maybe if I had more interesting things going on in my life now, I wouldn't be so hung up on something from 8 years ago. That comment really stung because she knows I've been struggling with figuring out what I want to do after graduation and feeling kind of lost about my future. It felt like she was using my current insecurities to deflect from what she had done. My parents eventually got involved when they heard us arguing, and that's when things got really messy. My mom tried to play peacemaker and suggested we both needed to compromise. I should try to forgive my sister, and my sister should apologize for not asking permission first. But my dad seemed to side more with my sister, saying that families should be able to laugh together and that I was making too big a deal out of childhood stuff. The whole thing left me feeling even more frustrated because it seemed like everyone was missing the point. It wasn't about the content of the diary entries, it was about trust and respect and having my privacy violated. But trying to explain that just made me sound like I was whining or being overly sensitive. My sister never did apologize. Instead, she spent the rest of the day making little comments about how I couldn't take a joke and how I was ruining Christmas for everyone by being so moody. A few times I caught her rolling her eyes when I was talking to other family members, like I was being some kind of drama queen. The whole experience made me realize some things about my family that I hadn't really acknowledged before. There's this pattern where my sister does something that crosses a line, but then when I get upset about it, I'm the one who gets labeled as the problem. It's like my feelings are less important than keeping the peace and making sure everyone else stays comfortable. I ended up leaving a day earlier than planned. I told my parents I had some school stuff to catch up on, which wasn't entirely untrue, but really I just couldn't handle being around my sister anymore. The whole house felt tense and I was tired of pretending everything was fine. The drive back to my apartment was really emotional. I kept thinking about that conversation with my grandma and how validating it felt to have someone understand why this mattered to me. But I also felt sad about how things ended with my sister and frustrated that we couldn't seem to have a real conversation about what happened. I'm back at school now, but I'm still processing everything. Part of me wonders if I should have handled things differently, but another part of me feels like I had every right to be upset. The responses to my original post really helped me realize that this wasn't just about being too sensitive. What she did really was a violation of trust. I guess I'm still figuring out how to move forward from here. The relationship with my sister feels damaged in a way that I'm not sure how to fix, especially since she doesn't seem to think she did anything wrong. And I'm wondering how this is going to affect future family gatherings and whether things will ever feel normal again. Update 2. I wasn't planning on posting another update, but something happened last week that I feel like I need to share because it's changed everything about this situation in ways I never could have predicted. So I've been back at school for about 3 weeks now, trying to focus on my final semester and not think too much about the whole Christmas disaster. I was still feeling pretty raw about everything, but I was starting to move on. My sister and I hadn't talked since I left home early, which honestly felt like a relief. Then last Tuesday, I got a call from my mom. She sounded really upset, which immediately made me nervous because my mom is usually the calm one in our family. She told me she needed to tell me something about my sister and that she hoped I would try to understand the bigger picture of what had been going on. Apparently, my sister has been struggling a lot more than anyone realized. She dropped out of college back in October, something she had kept hidden from the whole family, including me. She's been pretending to still be enrolled, even making up stories about classes and exams, while actually spending most of her time at home feeling completely lost about what she wants to do with her life. My mom said she found out because the school sent a letter about unpaid tuition, and when she confronted my sister about it, everything came out. My sister broke down and admitted that she's been feeling like a complete failure compared to me. She apparently sees me as the successful one who's about to graduate and has everything figured out, while she can't even make it through her sophomore year. This hit me like a truck because I've been feeling like such a mess myself, struggling with my own uncertainty about the future and feeling like I'm barely keeping it together. The idea that my sister sees me as having my life together is almost laughable, but apparently that's the pressure she's been putting on herself. My mom explained that the whole diary incident wasn't just about getting laughs, it was my sister's way of trying to bring me down to size and make herself feel better by embarrassing me. She said my sister admitted that she had been feeling jealous and resentful for months, and seeing everyone proud of me for being close to graduation while she was secretly failing out of school made her want to humiliate me. Learning all of this made me feel so many different things at once. I was angry that she had taken her own problems out on me in such a cruel way. But I was also sad for her because I know how awful it feels to think you're disappointing everyone and falling behind in life. And I felt guilty too because maybe if we had been closer or if I had been paying more attention, I would have noticed that she was struggling. My mom asked if I would be willing to talk to my sister, not to forgive her right away, but just to try to understand where she was coming from. She said my sister had been crying for days after I left and kept saying she knew she had messed up but didn't know how to fix it. I wasn't sure what to do. Part of me felt like her problems didn't excuse what she did to me, and I was still hurt and angry about having my privacy violated like that. But another part of me felt like maybe there was more to this story than I had understood. I decided to call her last weekend. It was awkward at first, neither of us really knew what to say. But eventually she started talking and it all came pouring out. She told me about dropping out, about feeling like a failure, about being jealous of me and angry at herself for being jealous. She said she had been carrying around so much shame and frustration that when she found my diary, it felt like an opportunity to make me feel as small as she felt. She also told me something that really shocked me. She said she had actually read through the entire diary before Christmas dinner, and there were entries in there about our family that were much more serious than the silly teenage crush stuff. There were things I had written about feeling overlooked or misunderstood, about family dynamics that bothered me, about times when I felt like my parents favored her over me. She said reading those entries made her realize that I hadn't always felt as confident or secure as she thought, and that maybe we had both been struggling with similar feelings without ever talking about it. But instead of that making her feel more connected to me, it made her angrier because she felt like I didn't have the right to feel insecure when, from her perspective, I was clearly the more successful sister. The conversation was really intense and emotional. We both ended up crying, which felt weird because we're not usually the type of sisters who have deep heart-to-heart talks. But it also felt necessary, like we were finally being honest with each other about things we had been carrying around for years. She did apologize, really apologize for what she did at Christmas. She said she knew it was wrong even while she was doing it, but she was so caught up in her own pain that she didn't care about mine. She said she had been wanting to call me for weeks but was too ashamed and afraid that I would never forgive her. I told her that what she did really hurt me and damaged my trust in her, and that it was going to take time for me to get over it. But I also told her that I understood why she did it, even though I didn't agree with it. And I shared some of my own struggles with feeling lost and uncertain about the future, which seemed to surprise her. We talked for almost 3 hours, and by the end of it, things felt different between us. Not fixed exactly, but like maybe there was a path forward that didn't involve staying angry and resentful forever. Since then, we've been texting pretty regularly, which is more than we've communicated in years. She started looking into going back to school, maybe at a community college first to rebuild her confidence. And she's been seeing someone to help her work through her feelings about herself and her family dynamics, which I think is really good for her. I'm still processing all of this. Part of me feels like I should have seen the signs that she was struggling, but I also realized that we've never been the kind of sisters who share that stuff with each other. Maybe this whole awful experience was what we needed to start having real conversations instead of just existing in the same family without really knowing each other. I'm not going to pretend that everything is perfect now or that I'm completely over what happened at Christmas. There's still work to do to rebuild trust between us. But understanding the context of why she did what she did has helped me feel less personally attacked and more like we were both just struggling in our own ways. The weird thing is that going through all of this has actually helped me figure some things out about myself too. Talking to my sister about feeling lost and uncertain made me realize that those feelings are normal and that I don't have to have everything figured out right now. And seeing how her jealousy and shame led her to hurt me made me more aware of my own patterns and how I handle difficult emotions. Final update. I'm writing this final update because I think this story needs a proper ending, and because some things have happened that I want to share with everyone who followed along with this whole messy situation. It's been about 2 months since my last update, and I'm actually writing this from my childhood bedroom. I came home for Easter weekend, which felt like a big test of whether my sister and I could actually be in the same space again without everything falling apart. The visit has been really different from Christmas, obviously. My sister and I have been talking much more openly than we ever have before. She's actually doing a lot better. She enrolled in community college for the fall semester and has been working part-time at a local bookstore, which she seems to really enjoy. More importantly, she seems more like herself again, less angry and defensive than she was during the holidays. We ended up having a conversation about the diary situation that felt like real closure. She brought it up herself, which surprised me, and she told me that she had actually kept the diary after Christmas because she wasn't sure what to do with it. She asked if I wanted it back or if I wanted her to get rid of it. I thought about it for a while and then I asked her if she wanted to read some of it together. I know that sounds crazy given everything that happened, but I realized that there were things in there that might actually help us understand each other better, and this time it would be my choice to share them. So we spent an evening going through it together and it was actually really healing. There were entries about times when I felt left out or misunderstood, but there were also entries about times when I was proud of her or worried about her or wished we were closer. She seemed surprised by some of the things I had written about her, especially the entries where I talked about looking up to her or wanting her approval. We also talked about our family dynamics and how we both felt pressure to be different things, me to be the responsible, successful one, and her to be the fun, easygoing one. Neither of us had realized how trapped we both felt in those roles or how much it had affected our relationship with each other. The most important thing that came out of all this is that we decided we wanted to have a different kind of relationship going forward. We're both adults now and we don't have to keep playing out the same patterns we had as kids. We can choose to be sisters who actually know and support each other instead of just people who happen to share parents. It's not like everything is perfect now, we still have different personalities and we don't always understand each other. But there's a foundation of honesty and respect that wasn't there before. And I think going through something difficult together, even though it was painful, has made us stronger as siblings. The other thing I want to mention is that this whole experience taught me something important about family and forgiveness. I used to think that forgiving someone meant pretending that what they did was okay or didn't matter. But I've learned that real forgiveness is more about choosing to move forward together despite the hurt, while still acknowledging that what happened was wrong. My sister violated my privacy and hurt me deeply, and that's not okay. But she was also struggling with her own pain and made a bad choice that she genuinely regrets. Both of those things can be true at the same time. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or pretending it didn't happen, it means deciding that your relationship is worth more than the grudge. I graduate next month and my sister is planning to come to the ceremony. A few months ago, I wasn't sure if I even wanted her there, but now I'm really glad she'll be part of that day. It feels like we're both starting new chapters in our lives, and I'm hopeful that we'll face whatever comes next as sisters who actually have each other's backs. To anyone who's dealing with family drama or sibling conflicts, my advice is this: try to look beyond the surface of what's happening and consider what might be driving the behavior. That doesn't mean excusing hurtful actions, but understanding the context can help you figure out whether the relationship is worth fighting for. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most are the ones who are hurting the most themselves. And sometimes the worst moments can become the starting point for something better if both people are willing to do the hard work of being honest and vulnerable with each other. Thanks to everyone who commented on my previous posts and shared their own stories. It really helped me feel less alone during a difficult time, and it gave me courage to try to work things out with my sister instead of just writing her off completely. I think that's really the end of this story. My sister and I are okay now, not perfect but okay, and that's enough.